There's a financial bit of it. Guys have lost their jobs. There are people dealing with so much. We really have to be very, very conscious how we treat each other at the workplace and empathetic and support each other. And then we have to be institutional listeners. We have to be active listeners. Sometimes it's just good as an admin assistant to just listen. People think admin assistants are the heart of the organization. We're supposed to be the frontline people in every organization. But at the end of the day, when we go back to work, there are times when some of us will have a breakdown, or some of us will just want to, some of us will be vulnerable. We need to be able to support each other, hold each other's hands. When somebody is down, somebody who's always been a very calm person, somehow just gets an outburst and you wonder, where is this coming from? We need to support each other because we are really, all of us, going through so much. And then the other soft skills we have to look at as an admin assistant, I am looking at being an effective and a good communicator because, when you go back to work, the organizations, like for example, Twitter, they've said that their workers have an option of just staying at home forever until even after the pandemic is over, they have a choice of just working from home. So when you go back to work after this, we will need to really exercise our communication skills because this will be a very good platform to communicate and maybe present a proposal to our executives and speak to them about the communications, about how we want to maybe be working half at home and half in the office, or certain days of the week you want to be working in the office and some at home. So that one we will need, and also to improve on our negotiating skills and also the leadership skills, because you'll be given a lot of responsibilities and you have to take care of all these things. The other thing, once we discuss about the going back to work, let's not be judgmental because there are those people who will prefer going back to work and there are those who just want to just stay at home. So we have to be really sensitive about those things, and this is an ongoing conversation. We need to just continue working and looking at, because now when you go back to work, there's going to be this major shift. We will need to change a lot of things in the way we do with our daily chores in the at work. We have to realign on some duties that we are going to be assigned, or make adjustments, those that will be required maybe to work from home or work in the office or work certain days of the week, or maybe even just not work full time again. Maybe some of us will just prefer to be working part time and all. So those are the things that we'll have to look at, because now moving forward, the world has changed. The world has become a new place altogether. And I would like to share with you the evolution of the employee diagram, which shows the future of how we are going to be now after the post-pandemic. Everything is going to change. We just have to align ourselves and readjust the way we do business, the way we do our thing. And then at the end of it all, we need to just because this is going to be our new normal, we need to be able to come together and support our executives in moving the objectives of the organization forward. And I want to wish all of you the best in everything that you do. And moving forward, I just hope you'll be able to support your executives the best way you can. And that's all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Lucia, for that insight. The next speaker joining us is Alison Dakwa. And Alison is joining us from Accra, Ghana. She's the CEO of PalmGem Consulting and Kuba Awards Administrator. Through her needs to connect with peers in the same profession, she created a quarterly networking event called the Resilient Executive Admin Cocktail Reach. The event provides a platform for administrators, professionals, and different organizations to network, learn, and share. Alison has impressive skills, and she's joining us from Ghana, and she's worked as a PA in London and various positions in her current position where she works. This evening, she's joining us to share with us a topic on emotionally resilient in tough times. Over to you, Alison.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Can everybody hear me? Yeah.
Yes,
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Joseph, are you able to disable it so I can share my screen?
Yes, it's already disabled on my end.
Okay, thank you very much, Joseph, for that intro. I'm going to update you or correct you on that intro. Actually, it looks like you've actually mixed me with somebody else. So I'll give you a bit of a background about myself. But just to let everybody who is listening know that I am going to be discussing maintaining emotional resilience during tough times. And what I'll be covering are the challenges for executive assistants during COVID. I'm also going to discuss some of my personal challenges during this time. I'm going to cover building resilience and self-resilience, preparing for the future. So just to give you a bit of background about myself, I've always worked in an administrative PA or HR capacity for the last 20 years in my professional experience, working both in UK and in Ghana. I moved to Ghana in 2013 to work for the British High Commission in Accra, and I was fortunate enough to work for 2 British High Commissioners. It was while my time working at the High Commission that I saw that there was a gap in the support for assistants in Ghana in terms of training and training and recruitment support. And I wanted to create a hub or a community of and a network of PAs in Ghana, eventually expanding in parts of West Africa. I qualified as an NLP practitioner in 2017, and that is when I introduced the coaching element into my business. So in 2020, when 2020 arrived, it was a new decade. It was a year of vision for all of us. You know, we all had a fresh start. It was a new decade full of positivity, good intentions and aspirations and goal setting. And I myself was extremely excited about the future and looking forward to how my business and the development of the PAs in Ghana would develop. But then what happened? We had COVID. So I've got something. COVID happened. So we were all hit one way or another by the coronavirus. It affected us all, and no one could have imagined how quickly and how much this virus would have impacted all of us. COVID has been making its rounds around the world, and there is uncertainty as to what we'll be doing in the next few months, weeks, or even the days as we know it. So our outlook will determine how resilient we are during these tough times. Now, people tend to gravitate to me for advice. They just do. It's the personality I have. And I don't always have the answers, but sometimes I do. I am the youngest of 2 siblings, and I have an army of male cousins. So you can imagine I've had to build up a bit of a thick skin. However, as time passed, my advice giving sort of rolled onto my professional life. However, when COVID hit, I didn't have all the answers, and I was rather feeling a bit anxious and uncertain about the future. And because of lockdown, my training workshops halted, and companies were not actively recruiting. It was challenging to try and protect and reassure others. So when I myself was unsure about my future, and I was struggling with this onset as well as everybody else. So how could I actually coach anybody? And I have to admit that I didn't want to see anything related to COVID. I didn't even want to hear anything. I didn't even want to speak about it. I didn't want to give it the energy it deserved, hence my 3 monkeys up here. So I just wanted to hide under my bed until COVID went away, and then everything returned back to normal, but I was wrong. So instead of hiding under my bed, I had to answer my emails and answer the phone, give advice when I could, and challenge myself with ways of working. So because even though COVID was here with a vengeance, everybody's lives have to continue. So from my own experience and discussions I've had with assistants in the last few weeks, I've been able to seek out some of their main concerns while dealing with the COVID pandemic. And I've listed some here in this diagram. So, I mean, some small issues are like the traveling, the social distancing, and how long this pandemic is going to last. However, some of the assistants' main challenges were actually having control. You know, assistants found that, you know, as assistants, we find that we are in control of most things in the office. We work in a methodical way. Our days and weeks are based on time, so we organize ourselves as well as our bosses. So, but instead, now this pandemic has happened, we find ourselves just looking on the internet for answers, you know, to questions running through our minds. We play out what if scenarios and repeatedly worrying about what might happen in the future. Assistants also found that there was also a presence of uncertainty. And uncertainty is one of the most difficult human experiences. Uncertainty means not having control of what might be happening to us, including our jobs, you know, our salary cuts, unemployment, what's going to happen with our families. Assistants don't do well when they have a sense of uncertainty, and we feel a bit more anxious and even depressed when it's going to impact our work, health, or even our well-being. Our minds go to great lengths to gain a sense of control in the face of uncertainty. One of the other challenges as well was change. You know, since the outbreak, a lot of assistants have traded in their office desks for working on their dining room tables or their kitchen tables, because I know I have. So ready or not, we've had to quickly to adapt to working from home and figure out how we can deliver results to our bosses without going crazy. So assistants have had to manage a work-life balance while at home and developing new working habits. Another challenge was the consumption of news, dealing with over misinformation. It seems like every minute we're inundated with relentless floods of information about COVID, you know, be it on our WhatsApp groups, on the news, on the social media, and on the internet. When there's information overload, we tend to miss out on important news and even succumb to potentially harmful misinformation. And it's fact that false news travels faster than the true stories in social media. So how do we build resilience during these times? We practice mindfulness, you know, do some journaling, yoga, if you want to take something different up, and other spiritual practices like praying, meditation, that can help assistants to build connections and restore hope, which can prime them into dealing with situations that require resilience in both their personal and professional lives. When you journal, meditate, or pray, give thoughts on positive aspects of your life and recall the things that you were grateful for, what you've done well at work, or even on your personal trials. Take care of your body. You know, personally, I've been trying to do some exercises at least 3 times a week. So self-care is a popular buzzword, but it's also a legitimate practice for mental health as well, and building emotional resilience during these times. Promoting positive lifestyle factors like eating well, your nutrition, good sleep, hydration, exercise can strengthen your body and your mental health to adapt to stress and reduce the toll of emotions like anxiety and depression. Avoid negative outlets, as I said earlier, the news feeds. Try to reduce what you watch and listen to, and what makes you feel a bit more anxious or distressed, especially during this pandemic. And at least sort of schedule yourself out to listen to them at least once or twice a day if you can. And be proactive. Take up offers of registering on free or discounted online seminars, courses and webinars such as this one. Update your skill set and areas that you wish to improve on professionally for your work. Taking the initiative will remind you as an assistant that you can muster motivation and purpose during stressful periods of your life, increasing the likelihood that you'll rise up during the challenge if it happens again. So preparing for your future. Like building a muscle, maintaining emotional resilience takes time and intentionality. I suggest focusing on 4 core components, which is connection, wellness, healthy thinking, and meaning. These can empower you to withstand and learn from difficult and traumatic experiences. For example, oops, giving you my last slide before you see it. For example, I want you to imagine a time in the future when you might be in a similar situation that you are in now, but the pandemic is over and you've become the best version of yourself. What would you have done to get there? What changes would you have made to be the best version of yourself? Now, bring yourself back to today and think about what you will gain from making these changes and how your life can be different when you have made this change. Life may not come with a map, but everyone will experience twists and turns from everyday challenges or traumatic events. Each change affects people differently, bringing a unique flood of thoughts, strong emotions, and uncertainty. Yet people generally adapt well over time to life-changing situations and stressful situations. Assistants deal with stressful times every day in the office. As much as resilience involves bouncing back from these difficult experiences, it can also involve profound personal growth. So I just want to finish off with a quote from Michelle Obama. She says, "Don't be afraid, be focused, be determined, be hopeful, and be empowered." Sorry.
Wow, powerful, powerful, powerful. Thank you so much, Alison, for your presentation.
Thank you.
And I would love to give a special shout out to Robinson Shumba, who's with us here right now. Thank you so much for also all of us tuning in from wherever you are. Also, a reminder that keep the questions coming through the Q&A chat box. And without further ado, I'll go straight to the next panelist, who is Mercy Asima. So Mercy Asima was the P of the Year, Africa 2018, a trainer and chartered executive assistant from the American Academy of Project Management. Mercy is an experienced executive assistant, the general country manager, with a demonstrated history of working in the hospitality industry. She's very skilled in non-profit organizations, budgeting, business and strategic planning, advertising and training. Strong community and social services professional with key certificates and an in-house trainer also. For their Franklin Covey's of 5 traces to extraordinary productivity and 4 disciplines of execution. So Mercy was the P of the Year 2018-2019, and she's currently based in Kampala, Uganda. Mercy will take us through the topic, working harder on yourself than your job. Mercy, take it away.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much for inviting me to come and share with you. I'm super excited. I think as everyone that is actually here today, this is becoming the new normal for all of us. We're starting to see a little, we're very used to interacting with people and audiences and emotions. So right now we're just trying to work with everyone behind the screens. And so please don't shy away from asking questions. We're monitoring the chat on the side, as well as a few questions that have come through. There's an anonymous attendee who was asking about, I think they've just recently, they were supposed to transition to another job, but then they're going through like a gray area. And I think the topic that I selected to discuss today will cover that area. The last webinar, we're talking about how to ready yourself for the lockdown, how you're coping with the lockdown. But I figured this is it's a good time to actually sit back and reflect for most of us. For most PAs, I believe that maybe some of us have been at our jobs for a very long time. And I think everyone can attest to that. Either we're very good at our job that bosses want to keep us, or we don't have so much free time on our hands to actually maybe develop ourselves, do something else, do something different, to actually transition to the next. Or sometimes some companies actually don't have like a career path for us. And so you can't sit back and actually wait for someone to make that plan for you. And so I thought today was actually going to be very broad. It could speak to PAs or non-PAs or individuals, running their own businesses. And so, yes, I'm super excited about this. And so let me just share my screen and we'll get straight to the presentation. Sorry. Good. Sorry, it's taking a while. Okay, good. Are we all in? Excellent. So, I thought about this when I was asked for a topic. I just said, it's a very good time. It's a very quiet time. We're all reflecting on our lives. Maybe some of us are still working. Most of you are still working, because I would imagine you're working with CEOs and key bosses that need to continue working through this period. And more than ever, they're counting on you. They're relying on you for support. And so it must be overwhelming. But don't forget yourself. You will never have another opportunity like this. I don't think I would have actually been able to get 2 months off from work, off in a sense that I can actually manage my schedule. And so use this time to actually think about yourself and where you want to go and what plans you have for the next season and what you like. A very good friend of mine who keeps pushing me as well. She's called Olivia, my best friend. And she always asks me, what's your plan? What are you doing next? And so that keeps me on my toes. So I thought I should share with you some of the knowledge that I've acquired over the years, but also some of my experiences. So, sorry, just 1 minute. Okay. So, before we actually go into the details of how actually we can ready ourselves for the next plan, let's begin by unpacking the most convenient roadblocks we blame for obstructing our paths. I know the majority of us have had moments in the past where we've actually blamed our bosses for, a failure for growth or for a failure to actually do so much. We blame the traffic all the time. Or I wish I actually had more time in my day. The traffic is horrible. Or, we talk about I can't save enough money because the taxes are ridiculous. I've actually been looking through like the participants, and most are from African countries, but even those that are not from African countries, we all know that government taxes and obligations are very heavy. And so it's one thing that always constantly weighs us down. However, these things will constantly be there. They'll always, time immemorial. Everyone always had difficult bosses. You've always had ups and downs, rainy days, good days, sunny days. They will always be there, right? I was actually reading a book written, and he actually made a statement and said, listen, it only doesn't rain on the poor, yeah? It just doesn't rain only money on the wealth. They also get wet, it rains on them, so they can't sit back and complain, oh, I didn't go to work today just because it was raining. Or disappointment or bad luck is not only reserved for village. Sometimes, want to like Willow and self pity, and maybe I'm not able to do ABCD because of my upbringing, because of where I was, because of my family, because of all these things. How fortunately you can change the circumstances with which you were, like the cards you were dealt with. So what you actually do about it. For centuries, life has pretty much been the same, yeah? It's morning, it's evening, it's daytime, it's 4 hours, look for. And for centuries, our great-grandparents, our mothers, our fathers will tell you they've always had challenges, they've always done the same things, it's always been the same. I just picked a small quote from one of my favorite musicians. It says, life like the seasons, after winter comes the spring. There isn't much that I've learned through on my foolish years, except that life keeps being posed. All right, so I think I'll just go straight, just in the interest of time, I'll go straight to where we were. So we had identified what are those convenient roadblocks that we always, use as an excuse for not, progressing in life or not going anywhere. Sorry, I think we were right above there. So yes, so we all agree that we have the same 24 hours a day. I'm sure you've seen people like, Michelle Obama or Beyonce for that matter, or the presidents of the world, or even just your own presidents, and you wonder how they're able to do everything they actually do within 24 hours. And it all comes down to being able to manage your time, being able to understand what you're doing, being able to have goals when you have goals in place, and you have a target and you have a purpose, then you're able to actually do everything efficiently within a little time that you have. And so it's not exactly what happens that determines the quality of our lives, but what happens to you happens to everyone, because it happens all at the same hours in the day. These are very common events. So it's what you do about it that actually does matter. An example is this. Imagine all these people that win lotteries, yeah? For example, you're lucky and you become a millionaire overnight. How that money can actually quickly go away very quickly, can quickly go away if you don't have a plan for your money or for your life. You could actually go spend it within one day or a week or a month and splash around, take out everyone, throw big parties, buy the most luxurious car. But if you don't have a plan and a purpose, you'll quickly go back to where you are and you'll be blaming yourself for everyone else. And so going into today, the key lessons that I would like for everyone who's tuned in today to actually go home with is you definitely will never get more time in your day, but you can create more value for yourself. Value makes the difference in all results. I'll tell you the truth. What you bring to the table, what you add to your job, what makes you extraordinary is actually what makes the difference in your results. Time has never and will never ever be a determinant. You can spend all day in the office, but at the end of the day, you actually have achieved absolutely nothing. And so what value do you add to the job? I've had some people say, complain in the offices, and I know probably you have, or maybe you're going through the same thing. I've worked at this job for 7 years. I've not had a raise in this number of years, or I've not actually grown high up the ranks. But ask yourself, what value addition have you actually brought to the office? What have you actually done to better the lives of the people in the offices or yourself? Or what innovation, what additional value have you brought to the company or to your role or to your boss's role? And so those are questions that you should actually ask yourself. So if you must go back home today, ask yourself, what value have I added to my job or my boss's role or the company in the last 1 week, in the last 1 month, in the last 1 year, in the last 7 years, in the last 10 years, whichever it is. And always remember, by the way, guys, we always get paid for value, yeah? So when we're doing appraisals, they don't appraise you for the time. They won't appraise you necessarily for what time you arrived into the office. They will appraise you for what value you've actually added. So please be reminded that those are the determinants. So develop an above average intensity to win. Most of us fall victims to this actually. We look for an above average job. We all aspire to get a very good job that pays a very good salary, but then we don't want to put in any work at all. We want to just, come into the office, spend the day, count the hours, close your computer, or just come into the office and do your typical job description or what was actually asked of you to do. You don't put any more effort over and above what you're requested to do. So what I would like for you guys to do is be passionate about what you do. I've had speaking from my own experience, I had a job with Parliament and a Swiss organization, and I quit my job and I joined a hotel as a PA. I got a bit of a backlash. I'll tell you, they're telling me, why are you going to, why are you being a PA? Why are you going to do this? You're like, stepping down the ladder. And my answer was that I see an opportunity there. It's an area that has like a bird's overview into the organization, into the company. There's an opportunity for me to learn. But most importantly, I always felt that I wanted to contribute something to the hospitality industry in Uganda. I love hospitality. I love the hotel. I love people. I just love, I'm like those people that wants to always be around people. And so I figured that is the place that I'm perfect at. Yeah, that's where I'm actually like the most creative. That's where I thrive. So I decided, let me take on this job and see how it goes. And I had a very, very supportive boss. I still have a very supportive boss who understood my energy and supported me and gave me the freedom, but I had to earn that freedom. And the way I earned that freedom is by showing and illustrating to him that I love my job. I had the right mindset. I wanted to learn as much as I can for the company. I wanted to add value into the company. When I joined the Serena, my current job, I was just, being a PA. That was my job description. But then, I thought to myself, like, it's okay, it's good work, but it's, there's nothing much more for me to do after I finish my 3 hours of the day. So I asked my boss, can I add a few more things to my job? And he's like, yeah, by all means, please propose something. Let me look at it and then let me see what to do. So I figured there's a bit of a communication gap. There is a gap with, with innovation. How do I fit in there? How do I use my skills that I know that I have to actually add more value? And I actually did that. And within 3 months, it turned around for me, my job. I got the first pay increment, and then I got a job revision, job title revision. And the next few years were amazing, absolutely amazing. So don't settle. Learn to work harder on the above, because things will change definitely, but you need to be putting in the effort to be extraordinary. Oops, sorry, I hear someone.
I'm working.
Okay, hi. Anyway, so back to the ant philosophy. I know most of you have actually seen ants, yeah? You've seen like the little ants that like, they are like an army. They move together, they work together, very cooperative. They're always buzzing, running. And so like the one thing that I after I learned about this philosophy, and you can actually go and read more about it. It's written by an author called Jim Rohn. Ants think all winter for summer. They think all summer for winter. They never quit. Have you ever tried to like look at a trail of like ants moving, and you try to like to stop them, or you try to like, you know, you try to like stop one of them from moving? They'll always find their path. Yeah, they'll always find their path back into the army of ants. But most importantly, ants teach us a lesson. First of all, to always pursue what we love and what we want to do, to always plan ahead, to not ever wait for the next season to come and then we start to panic. So while you're at your current job right now, while you're on lockdown, always remember, what else can I actually do to better myself? And there's a slide at the end that I will share with you, which I've put a few materials that you can actually go and do on your own right now to improve yourself, to learn to plan better, to actually learn to like implementation of ideas and set up your goals and actually hold yourself accountable and check on them. I'll share with you that slide and that material that there is. So going back, continuing this, so what can you actually do to attract the success and at the moment? So to research your success journey, we must begin with the right mindset. So let's begin by identifying and expanding our circle of influence and control. One of the presenters, I think, mentioned it earlier very briefly, but she actually input her own information. But I think mindset is extremely important in bettering yourself, because when you're in the right frame of mind, you'll actually work towards actually bettering yourself, not just for your job. When you are better, when you're more learned about your job, when you have more experience about like with your job or something else even, or your business, then you actually are in a better state of mind to actually plan better, contribute, better to contribute more knowledge to the job and even to your role in itself. So let's all begin by identifying and expanding our circle of influence. That's an area that we control, and reduce our circle of concern. Focus your time and energy on the major things that have the highest impact. Most of us get carried out with our daily routine. It's running around, it's taking phone calls, delivering mail, all these things. And you actually realize, if you actually sit down at the end of the day and you list down the things that you've actually done, they could be the majority, but they have the least impact on your productivity. So every single day before you start your day, every single week, always write down at least minimum 3 items that you must complete either during the day or must complete that week, and then have those milestones, and then the other whirlwind can always fit into your day. I'll just take you quickly through the circle of concern and control. So if you look at on the right hand side or the left hand side, sorry, I don't know what it is, you realize that the circle of concern is things that you have no control over, absolutely no control. It's the weather, it's the bosses, it's the news, it's the taxes, it's all those things. If you let that circle of concern expand and dwarf your circle of control, you are going to completely lose it. You'll have no energy to actually focus on the things that matter, because you can't control these things. Absolutely cannot control them. They will always be there. So what you actually do, work with the circle of things that you can actually control. Your attitude towards work, places you want to go visit, what you're passionate about, what your skills are, so that you can actually better yourself, and you're more focused, and you're in control of your life and your days and your schedule and everything else. So going back to the circle of control that circle of concern, let's start by eliminating the seeds of doubt that expand that circle. I have a checklist that I will share with you the presentation. I'm sure Joseph will share the presentation, that you can actually go through and use this checklist, and you actually ask yourself these questions. Normally, the biggest seed of doubt that we all have is you're always asking yourself, why go this far? Like, why should I try this hard? Yeah. Why learn so much when I can't survive? We know so many people in our jobs that have actually survived. They come in every single day, they go out, life goes on, they get a pay increment every year, but there's no value they're adding to their jobs. So why should I work so hard? Why should I be a people pleaser? Yeah. We know the company politics sometimes. We know that it helps, it annoys, it sucks, but it actually helps for you to know the politics of the company and to play by them to some extent, because it actually positions you, for management, for your colleagues. Sometimes it's important. But if you start asking yourself, why should I be this? Why should I be? I'll just do whatever it is I want to do. It's just for me. It's just for me. You realize that you're actually not working as a team. You're working on your own. Why should I always do this? Why can't someone else do this work? Why is my boss always loading me with so much? Have you come to realize that he probably trusts that you're going to do a better job than everyone else? Sometimes I look at my workload and I look at it as a challenge. I'm able to learn a lot more. I'm able to actually push myself and learn more than I could actually have if I'd not turned away the work. You can go through the list. I won't actually go through everything, but you can actually go through this later. And then you check yourself and ask yourself, what are those questions? What are those seeds of doubt that have actually expanded your circle of concern? And then, so now let's focus on growing our circle of influence, because that is where the gold is, yeah? Why not, yeah? See how much more you can learn. Why can't you learn a bit more? Why don't you just go to like a TEDx, a TED Talk? So many of us actually live in the city, I believe. We see through so much traffic. The one habit that I learned last year is, as opposed to listening to radio that's actually boring, or I don't even understand the context. I'm in a hurry. I have a daughter to drop off at school, and all this, with all this madness that's going on, I come back in the evening, I barely have time to watch TV. So what I decided is at all my traffic routes, I'm actually going to use them to either listen to a TED Talk or watch a YouTube channel that is actually beneficial to me. I'm going to learn something, or go to, it's called Blinkist. It's an app that actually summarizes books for you. So if you want to get any book that you actually would like to read quickly and summarize, that's not a very good habit, but actually it could help you, give you like insights. It's called Blinkist. I have that downloaded on my phone, and I use my 1 hour in traffic productively. So why don't you use that time to actually learn something? I love documentaries. I watch them all the time. Okay, please don't follow my bad driving instructions, but do that, yeah? See how much more you can learn. Explore how many more new skills you actually have or you can learn. If it's knitting or it's social media, actually, last time we discussed what additional skills PAs can actually have to expand their influence in the workplace, or to actually make themselves more robust. Go online, go and sign up for a class, a virtual assistant, because that's where we're going. Right now, jobs are very challenging. Most of us have got pay cuts. Most of us actually, thinking of leaving our industries. Some companies have actually closed. So what are the opportunities? There's so much material online. You can actually go and learn a skill or something else to do, and you cushion yourself. Don't wait for the winter to come and then you start running around panicking. Expand your circle of influence and reduce on your circle of concern. Because you have the knowledge, you and you alone have the knowledge. You can make better decisions for yourself, not your boss, not your friends, for yourself. You can only and only blame yourself. Remember, we only have 24 hours a day. Every single one was dealt the same card. So make better choices, change your life, grow your value, be valuable, be an asset at work. Don't always just sit back and wait for things to happen for you. You must put in the effort. For you to earn the respect of your boss, for you to earn the respect of your peers, you must work for it and you must earn it. And then you can secure your family and your financial freedom. So you can actually, I left a few more blank spaces for you to fill in more affirming statements for yourself, according to what you believe in, according to what you want to do, according to the direction of your life that you'd like to take. And why not now? What are you waiting for? Like, there will be no better time for you to do this than now. Everything that I've talked about today, they always say it's always very important for you to do everything within that one day or the first hour of doing it, because once you start procrastinating, you will not do it. How about you go back, sit down, and actually start saying, what is my goal? What do I want to go? Where do I see myself? How do I want to better my relationship with my boss? How do I want to be more productive for my boss? What value do I want to add to my boss? sorry, I'll just do this. Okay, so we can sit back and wait for the economy. So find ways to multiply your value in the marketplace, because we can't sit back and wait for the economy or the bosses or salary circumstances to change. We must do this for ourselves. I just put a very small illustration of some of the industries that have been hit hard by COVID. We went through this last time. We have, really the big losers where I belong, unfortunately, which is tourism. However, I'm not sitting back and drowning in self-pity. I'm thinking, so what else can I do? I've wanted to do my business. Now is the time for me to actually focus, finalize my business plan, discuss, our plans with my partner, and then see how to implement this. It may be a bad time to do business, but you just never know. We can see food online is actually thriving right now for most of us in very many countries. So that could be an opportunity. What if the situation outside does not change? Then how is your life ever going to change? When you change, everything will change for you. When you get better, everything will get better for you. However, for things to change, you must change your attitude, your vision, your purpose first, and know where you want to go and what you want to do. So invest in personal development, read books, attend seminars. I'm very, very happy. We have over 90 participants. You are on the right track right now. You're doing the right thing. I'm very glad that ABMC has been doing a lot of this free. So many people have offered their time, their knowledge to actually come and share our experiences with everyone here. So look for opportunities like this right now. And there's so many, there's so much material online that you'll actually go to. There is most of these universities online actually offering free courses. So you can do like the Harvard courses, Stanford, I think it's called TEDx. I'll get the name. But there's so many like online agencies that are offering free courses, very short courses, 1 week, 2 weeks, and you can actually get a very good coach and mentor. I'm very lucky that partially like my immediate boss has been like my coach and mentor, but I also try to keep very good friends, older friends that push me and help me to aspire for better, because they say sometimes that if you keep the same friends within your same circles all the time, you'll not be challenged to aspire for more. Get a good coach, get a good mentor, and then be lifelong learners and humble in the face of victory and gracious in defeat. I know most of us in offices where we always are bound to conflict with people because we're pushing people to get work done. We're pushing them to do things that they're not very comfortable with, out of their comfort zones, odd hours of the day, deadlines, timelines. But it's extremely important for you, for your own reputation as well, but also for your own peace and for your own value to be able to manage all those relationships. My key takeaways for today are, sorry, I'm just trying to move around my cursor. Be confident and consistent in your beliefs and thoughts. Do not wish it was easier. Do not wish for freedom. Do not wish it was easier, but wish for freedom, yeah? So sometimes we want to get the easier way out. Oh, I wish this was easier. No. Ask God, if you're a Christian or whatever it is, to give you the wisdom. Research if you find challenging work. Just try as much as possible to push yourself to be better. Never back down from a challenge just because it was hard. I know so many times I have received reports from my boss and he wants me to present something, and I will spend hours and days buried in work just because I must present the best report there is. It has its own downside because then eventually everyone will start dumping things on you, but that has given value to my work. He knows that whether he's in the office or whether he's out of the office or out of the country, he will always have an excellent report done and written and sent. And most of the times actually gives me the freedom to actually do it with minimal. And that I don't wish for easier work, but I long to look for wisdom. Always start with the end in sight. There is a phrase that says, don't count the eggs before they hatch. I think sometimes it's a bit deceptive because it holds you back. I've never seen anyone plan to harvest things they did not, or plan to harvest things they didn't plant. So first of all, you have to envision what do you want your house to look like? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want, what do you want your report to look like? And then now you work backwards. So always have the end in sight before you begin. That will give you clarity and it will give you a vision of where you want to go. Then think differently. Always have goals, drivers, and hold yourself accountable frequently. I'm going to share with you some material that you can use. my boss and I have led this culture in our office and environment. I'm actually the custodian of sorts, and I'm a trainer for this. It's called the 4 disciplines of execution. So it holds you accountable. Every single week, you must set a goal, and every single day you must, you have your to-do list. But it always tells you don't have more than four we call them the most important things. And what happens is that they must be tying into your overall goal. So you have your overall goal. For example, this year I wanted to start my business. And so what do? I started looking around for, what business I wanted to do. And so every week or every month, I would say, I want to do ABCD. I'm going to meet a partner. And at the very end of the month, you must regroup and you actually check yourself and fill in those blanks and say, either I met that person or I didn't meet that person, but hold yourself accountable. Until you're able to hold yourself accountable, then you will always think you're doing well, or you're on track, or you forget the goals you actually did, that you actually set for yourself. Something that I do myself every single day, my boss and I have, it's called a 10-30-minute rule. So every day for 10 minutes, we actually meet and discuss what we going to do for the day. And then at the end of the day, 10 minutes before you actually go and leave the office, you actually check your checklist and see what you've done and what you haven't done. And then every week on Monday morning, I have 5 minutes on Saturday or Sunday, whichever day is free for me. I list down everything that I'm going to discuss with him, either what I want to do, what he needs to do, what we need to follow up. And then we have our checklist every Monday morning without fail. We must meet and we must go through our checklist and check what we didn't do or what we did do. And then on Friday with the entire team, we also have the same. So these are called one-on-ones, and they're very good because then they hold each other accountable, but they also hold you accountable. So meaning that if I've not been able to achieve what I'm supposed to do this week, I will do everything to make sure that I don't look bad in front of my boss's, my boss's eyes. But it also helps me be able to achieve things and actually tick off things. It makes your relationship with your boss better. It also makes you more efficient. Keep that self-doubt voice in check, because that's our biggest fight. Like your mind and that voice is the your biggest enemy. Unless you change who you are, you'll always have what you've got. Remember, ordinary is sorry, let's do that, move it away. Remember, ordinary is so easy, very, very easy. Being ordinary, everyone out there is ordinary. Everyone is doing the same thing. Everyone is like, just sitting by and waiting for things to happen. So please don't be ordinary. It's so easy and it's so crowded. Put in a little extra and it will definitely pay off. I just put together some resources for you to look at if you're able to find the time. This you may have to pay for, but you can speak to your bosses, or you can actually get some little money and you pay for small programs at a time. There's something that's called the 5 choices. And so the 5 choices is like your guide to, it's by the Franklin Covey. It's like the Bible of your productivity, I would say, in a sense. So it talks about discerning the important from the less important in your daily life. And the beauty about this material, it actually doesn't just focus on your work, but it actually gives you a wholesome life. So it focuses on your personal life, it focuses on your work, it focuses on every aspect of your life. So it actually makes you narrow down your work or your mind to what really matters in life. Are you a mother?
1 minute to go, Mercy.
1 minute to go, cool. So so as a mother, what are your important roles in a week as an assistant or as a wife, whatever it is? Then the 4 disciplines of execution will help you be able to keep on top of your commitments, on top of your goals, so that you don't slip through the cracks and you forget about them. That was it. Thank you very much, guys. William?
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. That was it for today. I hope everyone managed to follow through. If you have any questions, kindly ask the questions in the chat. And ABMC is going to share the presentation, but I also post it to my LinkedIn so that whoever wasn't able to follow through the slides can be able to actually go through and get the material.
Oh, thank you so much, Mercy, for your time. That was an excellent presentation. So I'll take you through Lunice Johnson, who's founded the Lunice Johnson Communications in 2016. And she decided to take the plunge and own her own reputation management business. after gathering more than 25 years of experience, ladies and gentlemen, working for various public relations and reputation management agencies. Luni's scope of experience includes managing the full spectrum of PR, media liaison, that is external, crisis management, social media reputation management, stakeholder management, and facilitation of related workshops. During the past decade, a wide range of companies have benefited from Luni's versatility and perspective communications, media, and business skills. Also, Lunice believes in working closely with her clients on crisis communication and management, developing stakeholder relationships, media strategies, and also building profile opportunities. Lunice will take us through the topic, effective communication strategies. Take it up, Lunice.
Thank you, William, and thank you everybody for joining us this afternoon, and greetings from cloudy and windy and coldish Johannesburg in South Africa, but great to be here with you today. I just want to share my screen. So ladies and gentlemen, as an executive assistant, we constantly on a daily basis have to communicate with different stakeholders, whether it is CEOs or clients or employees or staff or my colleagues. We have to communicate with them on a daily basis. And in order for us to communicate effectively and efficiently, we need to develop those effective communication skills, whether it is verbal and written communication or whether it is non-verbal communication. So in order for us to perform efficiently, we have to have those effective skills. Even in the time of COVID-19, which is very, and I hate to use the word, and we are in unprecedented times because it is really a word that's overused now. So in this time of COVID-19 and where social distancing has been promoted to safeguard us against contracting the virus, it is of paramount importance that we as personal assistants continue to communicate in an efficient, effective, and a professional manner. So whether we are working from home or working in the office, COVID-19 shouldn't deter how we actually communicate in a professional and effective way. So as an executive assistant, we are often the link between management and a manager and the rest of the team. And during COVID-19, where the physical distancing is paramount and everybody is obliged to follow that, we should not let people dictate to us as personal assistants how we need to communicate, what our role and responsibility is. We should ensure that everybody still understands what is our role and responsibility. And in times like this, it is people who communicate effectively that is being perceived as responsible and effective. And those, interesting enough, is that those same people are then rewarded with raises and promotions. So I thought, because I know it is very uncertain times and that we don't know how to communicate effectively in times like this, because, you know, we literally went to bed the one night and the next morning we woke up and our worlds were turned upside down. So I thought of sharing a couple of tips and guidances that I researched and that I found that I thought would be of practical use to all of you. And the first one is really is to manage the message. Now, I know in normal circumstances where you would communicate with your CEO or with your manager, you would just quickly pop into the office and share some information. But now that we've got physical distancing, that is no longer the case. So you need to determine the format that the recipient is most comfortable with to receive information and content in. So whether it's WhatsApp or email or text or a phone, don't just assume that the person that you send messages to, your boss or whoever, prefers to receive emails. Maybe he would like to have a telephone call with you at 8 o'clock in the morning. So determine the format of your messages. And remember, it's never too late to start implementing these tips, because the sooner you start, the better you'll get, especially in these most uncertain times. Also, what I suggest we do in terms of managing the message is to determine what kind of information the recipient wants. Yes, you as a personal assistant might think that because it's a pandemic and because we've got all this information that you need to share all this information. But the recipient might not be interested because, to be quite frank, we are all kind of COVID out because we're bombarded and inundated with all this information that gets to us on a daily basis. So determine what kind of information the person wants. It can be information pertaining only to the organization or to the specific industry that you operate in, or it could be because of the country that you're in or the region that you're in. So find out what kind of information, or it can be, you know, that they say, no, it's fine, you can send me any information. And as was mentioned before by Alison, I think, is that we are really inundated with lots of fake news. And I think for us as personal assistants and executive assistants, it's very important that we ensure that the information that we share is not fake news. So when you see something, don't just send it out nilly-willy. Do a bit of research. Set yourself above the rest of the people sending out fake news. So do some research, make sure that you understand the platforms that it's come from, a reputable organization, so that later on when you send information that people say, oh, I've got another email from Alison, I can open this email because I know what's the kind of content, instead of just putting it into the delete file. So the next step is also to communicate across cultures. And in these untrying times, we are definitely communicating more and more with different kinds of cultures, because we're no longer confined to just bricks and mortar. So because of the online version is that we can actually now communicate with so many other people from different cultures, which means that you don't necessarily have to shout or speak louder, but just speak slowly, because people from a different culture is not deaf, they just can't understand the language so clearly because English might not be their first language. Also, give details you take for granted. A very simple thing. If I take, for instance, us on the African continent, I often forget that Kenya is an hour, or Nairobi is an hour ahead of South Africa. So I will schedule things thinking that we are on the same time zone. My other client in London is an hour behind. So I forget sometimes of the time difference. So when you give out details, make sure everybody understands and everybody's on the same hymn sheet. Consider written communication, because you can improve the comprehension, because people can read the message over and over and over until they can understand the message as you intended. But then you can also follow it up occasionally with a phone call so that your tone can also be understood. So that is communicate across cultures. The next step is really to do with convey complicated ideas. And we are really inundated with lots of information. I mean, there's not a day that goes by that we are not seeing interviews and stories and articles about COVID. So how you can convey complicated ideas is actually to use a system of signposting or organize information into smaller segments. Now, if we think about a signpost, if I travel from Mombasa to Nairobi and I see a 50-kilometer signpost, then I know it's going to take me approximately 25 minutes, depending on the condition of the road, etc. So it made this complicated idea that I'm traveling and I'm tired into a bite-sized format. So use signposts to actually just use the information and just put it into smaller little chunks of information, especially now where we've got information overload. It's also important, and that's the fourth tip I want to share with you, is to make communication interpersonal. Don't rely solely on emails and text messages. You know, from time to time, pick up the phone the person, speak to the person. And yes, I know that many of the times, or most of the times, it is a business call that you make. But before you end the call, there's nothing wrong by asking the people, how are you? How are you holding up? Are you still okay? Are you still coping? That is one of the things that will just set you apart from other people. It's also hard to gauge tone from a WhatsApp or an email. And so when you phone and you talk to people, they will easily understand and they will easily get your tone. It's also easy to check out the body language, and even if it is on Zoom. So don't think because we on Zoom meetings, we all have to be little robots and all sit there quiet. No, you can be animated. And even through Zoom, and even if I'm wearing glasses, people can have eye contact. And at least there's that little bit of personal interaction instead of just sending an email, which can be so unpersonal. And then human interaction really paves the way for clearer communication. If I don't understand a written message and I speak to the other person, then we get to some kind of understanding. So really make communication interpersonal, especially in these times where people are really inundated with information and people are scared because we don't know what tomorrow is going to hold up. The fifth and final tip I want to share is really convey your image, and that's to do with your personal image and what you look like, even if you work from home. Yes, I think it's very easy to fall into the trap of just, oh, I can sleep late or I can work from bed, I don't have to dress up. But don't forget the importance of the unspoken word. If you unkept on a Zoom meeting, and yes, we live in strange times where we will have children running around and husbands in the background. That's absolutely fine. We're all human. But make sure that your personal appearance is of such a nature that people will actually think that you are taking care of your position and you are proud of the organization that you represent. So be very mindful of how do you conduct yourself during Zoom meetings. And look at your workplace attire, and even if you are working from home, it's no excuse that you can just arrive in your tracksuit pants. So in closing, I want to say that this is the time where we can actually use to improve our skills. And it's a time that we can add value. And I know that there are concerns of people asking, but how can I communicate more effectively? What can I do? I'm not in the face of my CEO, but it's really add value. Empower yourself with knowledge. Empower yourself with knowledge about your industry that your company operates in, with the COVID-19 pandemic that is happening, how it's affecting other countries, and stand out from the crowd. Now more than ever, it's your time to go the extra mile. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lulis. That was so much powerful. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your presentation. And what stood out for me was how to manage the message and also how to be emotionally prepared, and also information and more information. Thank you so much for your time, Lulis, and we'll catch up on the Q&A session. So, all right. So we were on Andrew's profile. Andrew is the chairperson of the Kenya National Secretaries Association, trainer at their college. Okay. Andrew is the chairman, is a trainer, sorry, at the College of Human Resources Management. And Andrew was the 2018 winner of Personal Assistance Year Award. And he's also a Pitman PA Super Achievers finalist 2019 and PA in the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure in Kenya. He's currently, he's the current, actually the 2019 winner of the African Executive Assistant Award by the ABMC International and African PA Magazine. Andrew will take us through the topic, breaking from the norm as we have a successful path post-pandemic. Andrew, take it away. Andrew, kindly unmute your microphone. Kindly, we can't hear you.
Thank you, William.
Oh, thank you.
And the crew, thank you for having us this afternoon, morning, the other side. And actually, it is a very good opportunity that we may share our skills. We may share what is really the in thing today. And the topic, breaking from the norm as we have a successful path post-pandemic, is my topic. And I'll take you through some of the strategies, some of the ways that we can break from the norm, because the norm has been, and now the challenge has come, and we have to break from the norm. My second slide presents a post-pandemic. And as you can see, that person, there is some imbalance. And surely there has been imbalance even at our workplaces, and even as EAs, it has been a shock every day that yes, the world has provided us with a lemon, but it is us to create a lemonade out of this lemon. And we can see this person is able to create a way even at the flood times. And the situation as it today, there is some normals that is coming up. Remember, there is a road that we have always been using, which has been not being used maybe for 1 month or 2, but right now it is the same road that we are using. People have gone back to work, though not normalcy as usual, but there is some, the usual work environment. And it presents what the EAs are expected on the market, that there are things that have to happen, and they have happened before. And it is you to create really a lemonade out of the lemon. I want to share a trajectory of the EAs. I believe that when you read at my screen, you can see what many people have gone through, and many EAs have seen all this. And I've come up with a trajectory. A trajectory is just a curve, is a path that is followed. I know when you present figures, you replace figures with the Y and X, it becomes sometimes a challenge to many people. But it is a trajectory, as you can see. And I've presented it in a mathematical way, where we have Y is equals to MX plus B. This is an equation of a straight line. And as you can see from the screen, the straight line presents a slope, that the gradient. There is a gradient that all the employees, the EAs at work, they go through. And we have the x-axis, which is like a run, and y-axis, which is a slope. So every time EAs go through this kind of situations, you remember that you are at a y-axis. You present the calculus of y is equals to mx plus b, and where is y is equals to how far that you can go up, and x is how far long can you really go. M is the gradient. This gradient is not strategically for the EAs, because EAs go through a curve. It might not be a straight slope the way I've taken, but I believe that all of us who are watching this, they understand this language, that when I take a long time, I am slow. When my boss takes a long time, he or she is thorough. These are the trajectory that they have performed, they have been at the market. And the EAs, to break from the norm, to break from what we have gone through, or how the situation has been, you have to understand where the Y is, where the M is, and where the X is, because there must be a meeting point. All the EAs who have been able to go through the trajectory to realize what is on the market, they have become to be a powerhouse. And I've quoted these words from the guy known as Charles, who said that many of life's circumstances are created by 3 basic choices. The disciplines that you choose. There are disciplines that you have to choose to work on. Like right now, the challenge has already come. Which kind of the disciplines are you going to make sure that you are following that trajectory? Another thing that you choose, the people that you choose. You know, the people that you choose, they really reflect at your performance at a very great deal. If you choose those people are going to discourage you every day, the chances are that you'll be a discouraged employee. But if you choose those people who are able to work with you on certain strategies, then automatically it is going to work for you. And lastly, is the laws that you keep. The pandemic has brought challenges. And these challenges, it is which laws have come in place. In my country, even walking in the public, you must have a mask. And I'm very sure that many laws are going to come. These laws, there are those that are written and those that are implied. Those that are written, like now, you don't wear the mask. If you don't wear the mask, then you are going to meet the law. That's a different way. But there are those that are implied, where you have to really to exercise in your small cocoons so that you can come out very clearly. And William Thader says that if you don't discipline yourself, the world will do it for us. So for you to remain a powerhouse, and because a powerhouse is the one that's going to break from this norm, then you have to discipline yourself. The EAs are evolving, and this is how they are evolving. In the past, we have been working from 8 to 9 hours, 5 to 9 hours. But of late, right now, you work anytime. Right now, people are working. I'm very sure when you call somebody, even at night, people are working. That is a different dimension. In the past, we have been working in a corporate office, but right now you work anywhere. And even as we make up these presentations, there are people who are in their houses. You can work anywhere. So it is the ear to understand that what is really going to make me to move from this scenario so that I can be on the market verge. In the past, we have used the company equipments. We have used the company computers and all other tools of trade. But right now you use any device. I'm very sure there are those ones who are using the phones, there are those who are using the desktop, there are those who are using the laptops. All in all, it is because of this change that is coming up with. In the past, it has been focusing on the inputs, but right now it's focused on the outputs and the outcome. That what outputs are going to come out of this, and which is what the impact, because from the output, we get the outcome, then we shall get the impact. What impact is going to leave behind? And we have another one. In the past, it was climbing the corporate ladder. Like I work in the government, and you have to grow to the ladder for you to reach the topmost or the CEO. But today, where the future is going, you have to create your own ladder because you are working, you have few people to supervise you, and even sometimes there is no one to supervise you. So you have to create your own ladder. In the past, you had a predefined work. You have a job description that I have to do this and this. At the end of the day, I've accomplished this. But where we are going, it is a customized work. That the work you are doing, it is defined in your own trajectory. It is defined in your own disciplines. It is defined in your working area. And for you to move on, we have in the past, we had a focused knowledge where you had the information of the organization, you know what to talk, which kind of the customers. But right now you have to know the customers well because the river is bigger. The house is now bigger, that you have to redefine again the different methodologies to work on so that you can survive in the new era. In the new era, we have the focused and adaptive learning. Learning is every day. There is this guy who is called Alvin Toffler who said that the illiterate of the 21st century are not those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn and relearn. So this is what the world is providing us. That are you able to unlearn the behavior, the new behaviors? Are you able to relearn the new skills that are needed on the market? For you to survive in the new direction or breaking from the norm, there are these tools of trade that you have really to be accustomed to. And I call them the methodologies, the new methodology on the market or in the workplace. We have human capital. It is very, very important that in the human capital, you understand the attitudes, you understand the skills. The first speaker spoke about having the soft and the hard skills. The hard skills is about this, the training that you go through. But the soft skills, are you able to relate to the environment? Are you accommodative enough to understand the trend that is going? Do you have the PR that is able to connect the world? The tool number 2 is organization capital. It is very important that every organization, and you as an individual, you are an organization too, that you have to get this organization capital. And this one will include the culture, that you have to rework on the culture that has been there so that you can focus in the future. leadership is very important. That are you going to lead people very well? Because now it is about people working at home, people working at a distance. It is not people that you can move around. Like one of the analogies in management is management by walking around. We call it mbwa. So are you going to work in every house? No way. Leadership has to be redefined again. The organization development, that you are able to develop the organization, because it is the organization that is going to be at the vanguard of this development. And then the last aspect is about the information capital. Information is power, somebody said that. That are you able to relay this information? And this information, it comes to the systems. Are the systems really working? Are the processes are in place? The database, data is very important. That even before we began this webinar, there was data it is informing some decisions. Networks, are you able to network? If you all have these tools of trade, then the trend is that you are going to move to another dimension. And please remember that as you work on the restructuring, as you work on recasting, as you work on new developments, there's the vision of the organization. There are the goals, their programs, the activities, and the impacts. You have to take into consideration, because you are not breaking from what the organization has put, but you are trying to work it out so that it can suit the world that we have today. And lastly, I can say that these are words that I got from one of the organizations, Toyota Kenya, Toyota Industry, where it says that in totality, we get brilliant results from average people. Managing a brilliant process, others get average results from brilliant people managing broken processes. In a nutshell, we are not going to have maybe to fly in the air. It is the organization that we have, the tools that we have, that we are going to rework them so that they can suit our mandate. We are going to uplift them in a manner that it is able to give service delivery in our organization. Thank you.
Wow, 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 wow. Thank you so much, Andrew, for that excellent presentation. Really appreciate your time to just come and present on that, your topic. So I'll still remind all the attendees to kindly follow each one of the panelists through LinkedIn so that you can get more information, ask questions even past this webinar. So before we go to the Q&A, I would like to just share, currently as ABMC, based on adding value, we are doing CPEA, which is the Chartered Personal Executive Assistant Program. And we are doing it at a very subsidized price. And apart from CPA, there are other courses, emotional intelligence, how to brand yourself, women in leadership, so much more, so that now you can check out all these courses via our website, which is www.africanpa.com and www.intl-abmc.com. So with no further ado, I'd love to welcome Victoria to take us through the Q&A. Victoria, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Thank you so much, William. I can't seem to add whatever our panelists have said. All I can say is I'll borrow Henry Kissinger's words. The history challenge for leaders is to manage crisis while building the future. And all of you have done a fantastic job. That is Lunice, Lucia, Marcy, Andrew, and Alison. We cannot thank you enough. You've done a great job. Now to my first question, and I'd wish to hear the panelists' views on how do you deal with one going through all these positive changes, both personal and professional during this pandemic period, but when you go to work, other factors have not changed since you're caught in a dilemma of being the change agent or going back to the old ways. Open for all the panelists, please. We can start with Andrew. Andrew, are you there? Marcy?
Yes, I am. Just repeat your question, please.
My question is, how do you deal with going through all these positive changes, both personally and professionally during this pandemic period, but when you go back to work, other factors have not changed So you are caught in a dilemma of being the change agent or going back to the old ways.
Thank you very much for the question, and thank you, the panelists. I'll answer that question in maybe 3 perspectives. Number 1 is about simplicity. And simplicity here, I mean, know yourself, know your why. That's the good, know your why. Why are you existing? Why are you there? Are you going to hold yourself and die there? No. So knowing yourself, you understand the attribute. You understand where the trend is going, because it is only those ones who do not understand, but change has already taken place. We are in a different dimension, what we call a paradigm shift. It has already taken place. So it is the employer and you as a person to understand your why. Then number 2 is about speaking to yourself. Sometimes we always say there is an inner voice that will always speak to you. I understand some people go through a lot, and sometimes when they give their testimony, it is really very distracting. But at the end of the mind, knowing yourself, there are some voice that will speak to you. Because there's a saying that I am what I am today because of the choices and the sacrifices I did yesterday. So the choices that you are making today, they are going to affect your tomorrow. And some of us, we are the way we are because of the choices that we made. So the employers and the EAs in particular, they are choices that you have to make so that you have to prosper. And when you prosper, you are able to impact to others. Remember yourself, you are a project. And those who have done the project management, you understand the life cycle of a project. So you are a project I. And before even that organization realizes your presence, the project I must be fed. And how do you fed? It's about understanding your why, then understanding the voice that is speaking. Another thing is about silence. Sometimes they say that it can be anywhere. You can find some solitude. It gives me sometimes pleasure when you listen to yourself. You be silent. You are able to realize some voices. So change will automatically come when you listen to yourself. You understand your faculties. Today, there are people who are even in the hospitals. Why? Because they were not able to listen to their faculties. So it is a high time that ES, you have to remain silent and listen to what is the body speaking about. Because at the end of the day, you need life. At the end of the day, your family has to move on. Another thing that I'd wish to express is about pressing the pause. It is good that you pause sometimes. It is good you take some leave, go out of your office. It is good you go even to church and get some intervention. It is good to pause. So to me, as much as the pressure at work might be too much, as much they may not be giving you the advantages that you deserve, but the project I has to listen to itself. Thank you.
Alison, are you there?
So I'm here. Hi,
Yeah.
Victoria. Well, just
Yeah.
to add on a little bit on that, because the person asked about being caught in a dilemma of being a change agent or going back to their own old ways. Personally, there shouldn't be no problem in being the change agent. Lead by examples, especially as an executive assistant. We hold an influential position in most organizations. So if you come back from being in a pandemic at home or in your professional life, and you find that you have made some inner improvements to yourself, and we have had all this time to do that, why would you want to go back to your old ways? Why would you want to get sucked in to the old lifestyle of how you used to be or how your organization runs? You've made improvements to yourself. So being a change agent, being an influence to others, I think is a good thing. So personally, I think the person should stick with what they want to do and how they want to be. Hope that makes sense.
Yes, just add to what Alison just said. It's exactly what we're discussing a few minutes ago. I think you have the time, you have the downtime now to actually reflect, do a lot of thinking, to do a lot of learning, to do a lot of like adding to your value, your skills and your value. If you don't like what you do, you see, you only have one life. You could just choose to settle and just be a people pleaser, and then tomorrow they'll move on with their lives and they will grow themselves and they'll do better. And what happens is that you're going to sit back and you're going to blame them, and you're going to blame the company, and you're going to blame the boss. So you are responsible for your own happiness, for your own direction in life. And so think this is the time, like there's never been a better time for you to actually sit and reflect so much. What Andrea said is perfect, what Alison has said is perfect, but this is what we're discussing right now. You know, go back and think about what you want to do with your life. Do you want to continue doing this? Or if you actually want to continue doing things, what have you learned during the downtime that you're actually going to take back into the work environment to actually make your job more exciting, more pleasurable, add value to it, and then, you know, and then command all the blessings and attract all, you know, the goodness that comes with it. If that's the choice that you want to take, and that's the direction that you want to take, then you must deliberately work on that. If you don't like what you're doing, then you work on that as well. Otherwise, you can't just sit back and wait for someone to make that decision for you.
Yeah, I've always said isolate to evaluate. So use this time of isolation to evaluate yourself, and exactly what Mercy's just said. You know, improve on the areas that you want to. My personal thing is, don't get sucked into the old ways of other people. It's very easy to get caught up in the environments, especially when you go back to work, and you might have different energies about, and you may feel a different energies, but as long as you know for yourself what you've made improvements on, hold steadfast, and you'll be fine.
I'd like to add on to something. Can I go ahead?
Back to the question is, how do you deal with a boss who does not like one-on-one meetings, taking so long to respond to major issues affecting staff in this pandemic, despite being a proactive PA or EA? Lucia?
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yes, Lunis.
Yes, I think how I would handle that, again, we go back to the same conversation and the skills about being good communicator. I think you need to have a meeting, or maybe just have a conversation with your executive and explain to them, you know, how you prefer, how you just make suggestions. Like, I would like, you know, when I ask a question, I would like to get an answer. Maybe I prefer to get an answer at a given time, because causing delay makes me look bad on my part, because maybe then I need to hand over or maybe report to a different person altogether. It's just about communication. I think at the end of the day, you need to be an effective communicator, express yourself instead of just sitting back and feeling sorry for yourself and just wondering how you're going to do, because at the end of the day, our executives are human beings. That you just need to communicate, plan, get a good timing, and just have that conversation. We just need to be able to have conversations with our executives and to be able to just speak for ourselves.
Mercy, how do you deal with a boss who does not like one-on-one meetings? Yeah.
So I think we all communicate very differently to our bosses, but I think so many times we are hired to assist the boss, to help the boss, to make a contribution to the boss. You may have different methods of communication, but I think it's extremely important to put out what your needs and your desires and what makes your job a lot more structured and a lot more easier. If it's very hard to communicate with him verbally, then you can actually structure your days to make it a part of your days. Yeah. For example, if he's not the kind of person you can actually talk to and structure every Monday morning or every Friday evening to have a one-on-one and have a review session, you could actually very like what can I say? You can actually have like very indirectly do it. For example, every Monday morning, just have your own structured way of doing things. List down everything you're supposed to do, everything you've managed to achieve, and everything that you would like to discuss with him. And then slowly you'll actually get him into the routine of doing things. So many times we all want, okay, I'll give a very basic example of house helps, yeah? In a sense, like this is very like random, but I'll use that as an example. We all have people that help us with work, either it's an assistant or house help or an estate worker or something like that. What relationship would you like from that person? How would you like them to report to you? Sometimes they will slacken, maybe because they fear to speak to you, but you'll actually point out that failure in them. So don't wait for the boss to actually point out that failure of maybe you're not delivering on your work, or maybe he asks you at the wrongest time and then he forgets. Have a way that either you do it verbally or you can do it actually on email. Either you wait for him at the beginning of the day when you guys are having coffee, when you're serving him coffee, you can have that discussion, or you can do it formally on email and you list your to-do list and you check it against what you might actually manage to do. I believe there's a way that you can actually open these communication channels, and also a way that you can establish some order, and also just try to get him structured in a way. And I will tell you the truth, most bosses will actually appreciate this. They may not tell it to your face, but the day that you leave, they will always remember what you added, what value you added to their job, or what you actually did to improve to make their job better. So don't shy away from having this discussion. If you can address it verbally, then try and have a structure, either on email or diary.
Thank you so much, Marcy. My next question will be Lunis. I hope you're there. How do we prepare emotionally for another interview after pandemic? Probably this is due to probably we had a job before, and then we lost the job and we were terminated, and due to financial constraints, now we are here. How do we prepare ourselves emotionally for another interview after this pandemic?
Yes, I think it's a very realistic question, and it's a very realistic situation that we are all stand to be engaged with. I just think that you need to keep yourself abreast of what is happening in the environment. So don't just go and sit. Yes, you can. And that's the other thing that we also need to learn during COVID-19 and this whole pandemic, is that it's okay not to be okay. So you can take time out and sulk and feel sorry for yourself because you didn't get the job, you didn't get the interview. That's absolutely fine. And I actually suggest that you do that. But then when you get out of that mode, and don't stay in that mode for too long, maybe a day, and then when you feel sorry for yourself, but when you get out of that mode, prepare yourself. Stay abreast of what's happening in the industry. Stay abreast of what's happening in organizations that you would like to go and work for. If there are certain companies that you want to work for, make a wish list and approach them and say, these are my talents, this is my expertise, this is my qualifications and my skills. Are you able to accommodate me? But I don't, the sooner you get back onto this whole roller coaster of interviewing and finding a job, the better for you. And just keep being self-motivated all the time. I know it's not easy. And that's why I suggest that you also take time out to feel sorry for yourself, but then quickly get onto finding the job and go back for other interviews as well.
Vishra is off.
Some of this.
Just to add to what Lunis talked about, in one of the slides when ABMC or Joseph or Victoria shares the slides, you'll actually look at, or you can actually look up this information on the internet. They've actually done like very, very good like infographics of like industries that are doing very well, that have actually benefited from this, the winners and the losers. And so when you're going into the the job search environment, go with a very clear mind of where it is that you'd actually want to look, so that you'd actually don't get frustrated. You could apply into a company that could probably go under the next couple of days. And that's not saying that you completely disregard some of our industries, but there will always be demand for workers. There'll always be job openings. There may not be as many as they were maybe a couple of months in some sectors, but sure enough, there's actually Amazon is still employing, Microsoft is still employing. There's so many companies out there that are actually employing. So what you need to do is look up the information, look at the winning industries, look at the ones that are actually doing very well. It's either technology, it's IT, it's all these things. Then go and read about them, prepare yourself for the job market, read as much as you can, you know, upgrade. If there's a skill that you don't have on the requirements of a particular job, then you have the time right now to actually do a quick course on it, right? So just prepare yourself. Don't just sit, like she said, like, don't sit and drown yourself in pity. You can have that moment, the downtime, but remember there's tomorrow, there's, you know, there's life after tomorrow. Your savings will probably dry out, or you know, snap back, and all the jobs are taken. So just prepare yourself, and the information is available online everywhere.
Wow, thank you so much for all the
Can I add?
Okay, just a minute.
Okay, thank you so much, my colleagues. I also want to add that you have to become a student, and a good student for that matter. In life, life will always present issues. As I said earlier, when life gives you a lemon, prepare a lemonade from it. And therefore, when you are a good student, you'll be able to understand, to learn what is coming on, what is in the trade today, because the pandemic has brought so many issues. So as a student, you understand what are the new ingredients that I should add so that I can get a fat meal. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for all these excellent panelists that have taken through the journey. Lucia Mose, thank you so much. Lunis, thank you so much. Mercy, thank you. Alison, thank you. And also Andrew, thank you so much. We have learned exceptionally great skills from all of you. And so I also love to thank Joseph Mugo for giving the opportunity to be the host for today. Actually, he's sure that I have a boss who believes in us. And I would love to thank you so much, Joseph and Victoria Karanja, for giving us this opportunity. So before we finish up on a closing prayer, who among us would want to pray before? Let me just know. Formal. Mercy, Lucia.
This afternoon, thanking you because you are Jehovah. We have had a good session. We have learned a lot from each one of us. And we pray, God, that you're going to help us put this into action. There's a lot we have learned. There's a lot that is going on in the world. You're aware of our fears. Father, we pray that you come in the gap and help us move forward. We know that we understand that there's a shift in the world, and all we're praying for is for your guidance so that we can move with the new times that we have on site. And as I close, I'd like to say the serenity prayer. God grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you, God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for everyone that has taken time to ensure this webinar is a success. And from us as ABMC, thank you so much, and God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys. We're leaving now. Finally, it worked.
Me too.
It worked. The internet worked.